Are you satisfied with your understanding of sustainability? If you are not, imagine a journey together, a pluralistic one, with academia, innovators, startups, NGOs, all looking for solutions to the greatest challenge of our time. My name is Samuele Tini, and this is the Sustainability Journey. Welcome to another episode, and today I'm so excited to have somebody that represents a small icon that we have seen many times. I'm sure many of you have seen in the brands, in the website, that small 1% for the planet. What is it? And now we are discussing this with Kate Williams, the CEO of 1% of the planet. Thank you so much, Kate, for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Kate, I'm really eager to learn the story of 1% of the planet and the impact. We see it everywhere. We see it on many of also the big corp that we have interviewed. But before that, the usual question for us. What is your sustainability journey?
Yeah, so for me, it really started with being connected to the outdoors as a kid, just kind of being sent out into the backyard with my brothers. So super basic, not like my parents took us on huge adventures, but we did spend a lot of time just outside in the yard. And then when I was late teens, early 20s, I did actually get more time in the wilderness and was just really taken with that and really moved by that. And at that time was learning about, threats to wild places. And so from there, that kind of expanded into, I would say, kind of a twofold journey. One part of it was really, coming to understand that the threats weren't just to wild places, but to kind of the health of all places and the people within them. So a sort of increasingly broad understanding of environmentalism and commitment to that. And then also the other kind of thread for me is being really interested in how people come together around these types of issues. So the content, in the sustainability or environmental space, and then the sort of related, for me, like integrally related question of how do you bring people together in that space.
And you are doing it with the 1% of the planet. Can you explain a bit what is it? Where is coming from? What is the history of the organization?
Absolutely. And it's a good year to ask because this is our 20th anniversary. 2022 is our 20th anniversary. And so we were founded 20 years ago by Yvon Chouinard, who's the founder of Patagonia, and his buddy Craig Mathews, who founded a company called Blue Ribbon Flies. And they were fishing together in Montana and had a conversation that the giving that they did through their companies to support causes that they believed in and that were relevant to the work of their companies, they're like, wait a second, this needs to be something that all companies do. It can't just be a kind of nice thing that a few people who care about it do. This should become core to our economy. So they created 1% for the planet as a way to create the movement. And that is what we do. So we have been building this movement in which companies commit to giving 1% of their annual revenues, so it's not profits, it's revenues, to environmental nonprofits. And we are the facilitating, certifying, advising organization that kind of knits all the pieces together.
That's wonderful. And can you share a bit some stories? Because I'm sure people want to learn. What has been in this 20 years, your impact?
Love this question. And let me just scale it for you a little bit, and then I can share some specific stories. So, from the fishing trip 20 years ago, we're now a truly global nonprofit with more than 50% of our network of members and nonprofits outside of the United States. So we're truly an international nonprofit. Our headquarters is in the US, but our membership is fully dispersed. We have more than 5,500 business members and approximately the same number of nonprofit or environmental partners. And we have certified the total lifetime giving that we have now certified is close to 450 million US dollars. And in this last year alone, we've certified 65 million US dollars in giving. So we're really accelerating our rate of impact. So those are like the big numbers. What we love most about like those big numbers is they're made up of the 1% of companies of all sizes. So really, the smallest company to the largest company are all equal contributors to that number in that they're each giving their 1%. So it's this wonderful collective action that tallies up to a big number, but it's made up of the specific giving choices and 1% amounts of each member. And so what's also then, to get back to your more specific question, what's also really exciting about that is it's a big number that breaks down into a number of different impacts on the ground, like literally thousands of impacts. So if you think we have more than 5,000 members, we have more than 5,000 nonprofits. In a given year, most companies are giving to 1 or 2 or 3 or more nonprofits. So we're up to like more than 10,000 partnerships each year, and every single one of them is an impact story. Examples abound, everything from, very, very local. So a small startup company in California choosing to support an ocean beach cleanup nonprofit based in their small town, and they can engage their employees in doing volunteering. They can also give money directly to help that nonprofit do its work. So super local, to other, companies of all sizes, but let's, use a bigger one, for example, who is choosing to give to multiple different nonprofits, including those that are operating at a global scale to address climate change, like, for example, Project Drawdown. So we have kind of everything in between, and that's the beauty of the model. You started out in the intro talking about our logo, our small little 1% logo that, goes onto products and websites. And what's really cool is that's a unifying brand. So this whole community of members share that brand, but they all differentiate through their specific giving stories on the ground.
And it's wonderful. I can see the impact and how you are really scaling up and really making tangible impact for thousands of organizations around the world. I want to ask, your model and the perspective of philanthropy, is it a way from which businesses can engage and really help solving the problems that we are having?
Very much so. And I love that question, because it's really important to us, because here's how we think about it. So businesses have an amazing opportunity to drive change in a bunch of different ways. So one way is within the marketplace. So their businesses, they're operating in a marketplace, so they can make changes to their supply chain. They can put in place requirements for the vendors that they work with, all of which can be part of how they achieve their sustainability goals. That all has to be within the marketplace, because that's, what that is. Nonprofits operate where there isn't a market, typically, for the most part, or where there's not yet a marketplace. A lot of times nonprofits are the ones building that. And so the critical importance of businesses seeing the opportunity of giving to nonprofits is that they immediately expand the scope of the impact that they can drive. So they're able, through nonprofits, to do things that they simply could not do through all of the levers that they have at their disposal as a business. And that's what we're really focused on, because it's not an either or. We don't say, give to nonprofits, don't do these other things. We need everything, as I think you would probably agree. There's a lot of issues we need to solve. So it's really, really important for businesses to see that they can just immediately make the playing field on which they are, playing that much bigger by giving the nonprofit space. And they can address the other features of nonprofits that are so important. They can address things really quickly, because they don't have to wait for or operate within the market. They can say, this is important. This needs to happen for mission reasons. We don't have to prove a business case yet. We just have to make sure that this species does not go extinct, because there is no second chance if it goes extinct. So we need to go now, and we need resources to do that. And so there's some urgency that nonprofits can step into. That's really important. They can also bring people together around those issues. So kind of that constituency building, which can be really important for companies who are looking to, amplify their brand through the giving that they're doing.
That is extremely important. So I really liked what you say. It's not a trade-off, it's a complementary choice. And you can really work on your supply chain, or on, for example, improving workers or suppliers, but also working with no profit to have scale impact. My subsequent question is, of course, which is the way forward? Where do you want to reach with 1% of the planet?
Yeah, so we see, and this is really from the days of our founding. So this is, something that, Yvon Chouinard believed, and that we continue to believe and sort of bring to life today, is that philanthropy needs to move from being seen as this kind of nice extra that you do if you have some money, to something that's very much incorporated into the fundamental operations of the business. So what we believe and see in our companies and want to see really across the economy is that in the same way that a company, of course, is going to pay their rent or their mortgage or their lease, you don't not do that while you're running your business. You're going to pay your staff. You don't not do that. And increasingly, companies are really figuring out how to do that better for the well-being of those staff. Right up there with that should be paying the planet and, making sure that a company is contributing to the well-being of the planet on which any economy rests. So again, you pay your rent, you pay your staff, and you pay the planet. We really believe that philanthropy, strategic philanthropy, needs to be integrated in that way, as a way that our whole economy is more of a net positive contributor. And again, it's not either or. That's not the only thing that you do, but that needs to be part of it. And the other way in which it's not a trade-off is it's good for business. Consumers want this. So consumers have stated very clearly in a number of different studies that they want to put their purchasing dollars toward those brands that are making credible commitments to be solutions oriented, not problem creators. And so 1% for the planet represents a really important way that companies can both do that and signal that. So it's good for the planet and it's good for business. In the same way, again, I'll use the staff analogy, that investing in your staff is good for their well-being and it's good for your business, because if you have an engaged staff who feels well recognized, they're going to keep doing great work and they're going to want to be there and they're going to help, they're going to feel invested in moving the company forward. So that's what we envision for the future.
And then it's wonderful. And I really think that you are on the right track, and the work that you are doing and the impact that you are having is testify this work. So usually people, they will start maybe asking themselves, but I'm an individual, maybe I have a small business. Which tips can you share with our audience? What we can do?
Yeah, the 1% for the planet model represents a really great framework to think about that question, because we talk to a lot of people, and whether you're a company or an individual, basically it's all people, right? It's all people trying to figure out in our different contexts what to do. And it's quite common these days for people to feel really overwhelmed. And so the 1% for the planet model, both literally and figuratively, represents a way to think through, okay, I can take one step. I can do 1%. You don't have to do everything all at once. Just take one step. And what happens is not only does your step add up with other people's steps. So whether your one step is, giving your 1%. So just think about it over the course of the day. Like, what do you spend on food or coffee or whatever? What's 1% of that? What would happen if you just allocated that to something that was aligned with your values? Or, give yourself a week to do that, just some sort of framework like that. Taking those little incremental steps adds up and makes a difference. It adds up for you. It also, if you imagine other people doing it, so 1% for the Planet Network, as I shared earlier, the 1% add up. It's real money. So and it's also fun, because when you do stuff together, it's usually more fun and you get more good ideas. And then what happens through all of that is you build momentum. And that's how we get to 100%, is when we, start to take those steps and then let the energy of those steps, whatever they may be, could be 1%, could be some other way that you're making a step. You gain energy from that enables you to then, kind of go all the way. And Patagonia is a great example of that. They started with 1%. And as many people have heard just this fall, they essentially have gone from 1% for the planet to 100% for purpose. They're now, owned and managed by a purpose trust that, means that what they do is oriented toward purpose. And so that's, a very, big, strong example that, we can translate into our own lives or our own companies of what's the one step that could become a much bigger step if we just keep doing it.
And the example, of course, of Patagonia, certified B Corp, and I think a pioneer in the space, has really given the path for many businesses on how to engage and be more sustainable in a way, also to give back, as you say, to the planet. The episode is wonderful as usual. You are full of insights, and I'm sure people now, they will be more aware and going to check on brands and websites for this 1%, maybe a small 1%, which add up a lot of impact. And as usual, I want to ask, what is your final message that you want to leave to our audience?
I think maybe what I'd say, it's very easy to get discouraged these days. And my own experience is that I'm not very effective when I'm acting from a place of being discouraged. So one of the things that we see in our network, and one of our members shared this language with us, is this idea of hope spots. Little places, little partnerships, little ideas that embody something that you can feel hopeful about. And so I just invite everyone to figure out what are some hope spots that you can identify and focus on when you're feeling discouraged, to just give you that energy to keep going. Because even when news is objectively discouraging, that doesn't mean we have to stay there. That doesn't mean we can't still create the future that we want to live in. So that's what we're oriented toward. And I think for me personally, that's certainly the way in which I can kind of keep going and get up every day and feel energized.
Thank you so much, Kate. We hope also that this podcast humbly can be a hope spot for many people and giving voice to change maker like you that really transforming our planet. Thank you so much, Kate, for this wonderful episode. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so much. Great conversation. Appreciate it.
Are you satisfied after this wonderful episode? Let's continue together our sustainability journey.